ever noticed that some children learn way faster than adults? Well, guess what? It's not in your head. There's this new scientific study that has come out that can back that idea up, and it gives a reason why. Children have more, I'm going to call it GABA in their brains, a messenger which helps with learning and absorbing material. Science specialist Dan Riskin is in studio to explain more. GABA.
I would have sent my kids to explain this because apparently kids are smarter than grown-ups.
So really that's what I'm saying. Like, is my child smarter than me?
Your kid learns faster than you do, and your kid picks things up faster. And the other thing that your kid does that's different from you is that if your kid learns something and then they learn something else after, it doesn't interfere. It doesn't take as long for it to solidify before they're ready to learn the next thing. Whereas for grown-ups, there's more of a period where, like, hang on, I just learned something. I'm not ready for new information yet. I have to sort of absorb that.
Yes.
That doesn't happen as much for kids. So one of the things this study showed is that kids pick things up faster.
Yeah, and there are two parts to this study, right?
Yeah.
So first it suggests children learn faster than adults, and then it explains why. So why are they smarter?
Right.
Or learning faster?
So the way that they tested this was, it's kind of like a video game. They put kids and grown-ups, they did the same thing with each of them to compare them, in this brain scanner, and then they had them watch a screen, and the screen would have some lines that were hard to see and would either go this way or that way. You sort of had to hit a button depending on which way they were facing, kind of like a video game where you're shooting left or right.
Is that why they're better at it?
Because maybe that's why they're better at video games.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? Yeah, it's very similar sort of task, but they would switch it from this orientation to this orientation, and then they would make a new one where it was this orientation versus this orientation. And like I said, grown-ups are like, whoa, 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 hang on, I learned how to do this one, now I have to do this new one? I don't get it. Kids are like, oh, no problem, do. So kids were faster, and the brain scans that were happening at the same time showed different levels of something called GABA, which you mentioned, gamma aminobutyric acid. That won't be on the quiz, so you don't have to memorize it. But basically, there's this neurotransmitter in our heads, and kids show this huge spike of it right when they're learning, and that spike comes right back down afterwards. And so they're able to get that neurotransmitter in their heads when they need it, whereas grown-ups don't have a spike. They just sort of have a level of it, and they just hum along, and they're like, okay, I got what I got going in my brain, and they just keep going.
Is that your adult voice?
That's my adult voice, yeah.
So does that mean that we would have had the same relationship with the adults in our life when we were children?
Right, so yeah, I mean, hopefully it's not that there's just this brilliant cohort coming through right now, but it's thought that this is something that changes over time. And there have been studies in the past that look at GABA and compare it to grown-ups versus kids, but it didn't do it in the context of a learning task. And so because there's this spike in the kids where it goes up and then comes back down, if you just measure it at a random time, kids are going to look like they have very low levels of it. And so people had thought that kids don't have very much GABA, so they shouldn't be good at learning, hey, what's going on? But now we find out that it's just that kids can modulate it. So it spikes when they need it, and then it goes back down when they don't need it. Grown-ups have a higher level on average, but we don't modulate it. We just keep it at one level. You
know that conversation that comes up with friends or family sometimes, like, when did you peak? You know what I mean? Like, what was that, high school for you? Like,
totally.
Is there a peak here for?
Well, there's definitely an advantage when you're younger. You do learn better, and there's more to learn, right? When you're born, you don't know anything, and you got to learn all the stuff.
I always say that. I'm like, children are not smart. Like, you have to actually teach them.
You have to teach them a lot of things, but they can learn very quickly. They're built better for this, and so it makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. They need to learn more. But the hope is we can look at this, and maybe it's going to give some insight into kids that aren't learning as fast as they should. Maybe there's something going on with this, so it's a target for medicines and investigations that way. And then also maybe there might be someday a pill that grown-ups can take so that we could be smart again like kids are, or at least be better at video games.
Stop it.
Well, maybe.
Really? I know there's a lot of maybes.
A lot of maybes, but I just want to be better at video games because my kids are already beating me. It's not fair.
I hear you. All right, Dan, always good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.